Good morning and welcome to everyone. Welcome to this very wonderful day. And today I wanted to just mention a quality that in the yogic tradition is called Shravana. Shravana means listening. And I have really been confronted with that over the last few days, having to listen to some friend who in Germany, one of my friends there, who needed to really be listened to, and it opened out this whole concept of listening, of Shravana. And I thought I'll just talk about it a little bit this morning and give you some of the thoughts that I have come to, I have, and experiences that I have that might be helpful. So listening is important, and I think in our lives we are trained to be outspoken. We're trained to speak, and we are trained to be right in what we are saying. So our listening often falls short. So if I can summarize that first statement that I've made, is that mostly, most people don't listen with the intention of hearing and understanding, but with the intention of reply or responding. So how many times do we sit there and somebody is talking to us, and then what happens is that while they're talking to us, wanting us to listen to them, in our minds there's this whole thing going on in our minds that says, okay, let me respond, what am I going to say to this person? And the listening is just partial. So partial listening is something that often creates big rifts between friends or between people. So So true listening really requires something that is important. It requires a temporary, not all the time, but a temporary putting aside of our time. It's a really big one. How much time do we have to listen to someone? So we have to put our time aside and make time for a person. And also our prejudices, our judgments, our own opinions, all of that we temporarily have to put aside to really listen deeply to somebody else. And when that happens, when we really listen, it's called empathy, and being able to stand in somebody else's shoes, or moccasins, as the North American Indian people say. But that is so important, because I think true listening is one of the most powerful healing tools that is available to us. And often the only thing that is needed is to listen. It doesn't even need our response. Does that make sense? So there's this really wonderful story about a violinist who performs all over the world. He is an amazing player. He does so many performances, and he travels from city to city, and with him travels his brother. And his brother always sits in the first row, just sits there, and he intently listens to what his brother and how his brother is playing. And then one day, as the years go on, one day his brother dies. And I think this is a true story. What the violinist does after his brother dies, he puts the violin into his brother's coffin, and he says, I'm not playing the violin anymore. And people say, don't put the violin in his coffin. Do you realize how much it's worth? And he says, my violin is useless to me without the depth of my brother's listening. Beautiful, isn't it? And we can translate that into our own lives. We all play our own melody, and that melody needs to be heard. Our melody needs to be heard by other people, and we need to listen to other people's melody of their life. And when we do that, I think just our world just changes. And it brings a lot of peace into our relationships between each other, a lot of freedom, and a lot of space if we can do that. So if you don't try and win in a conversation, let the other person win, and then that makes the other person really happy, and then we're happy because we've let somebody else win and we listen to someone else's life. So for me, so that is one part of listening, being able for us to listen to somebody else. Then the second part of listening, which is very, very important, is to be able and to open ourselves to listen to what somebody else has to say to us. If it's a compliment, we never have a problem listening. We want the compliments because it makes us feel so good. The other way of listening is when a teaching comes to us, something that may not be a compliment, but may come from a friendship point of view. Are we then able to open ourselves and say, okay, give it to me, rather than blocking it and saying, oh no, I don't want you to say these things about me, but to actually be open and say, okay, let me deeply listen. Because when somebody else speaks to us, often the universe is speaking. Some people say God speaks through the mouths, through the words of other people. So are we able to listen to those words and say, okay, what does that mean in my transformation or for me? And the third way of listening, I think is very important, is to be able to listen to ourselves. Listen to our needs. Listen to what we need for our body to be healthy. How many times are we not listening to what we're supposed to do? If we get tired, but we still stay up, then we're not listening to our body speaking and saying, I need to rest. How about that? Or, so many things, when we, mothers do it. So many of us are giving, but not wanting anything in return. So there's a voice inside of us says, don't do that. Give to other people, but ask for something back. That's the energy of the heart speaking. The heart says, for me to be in balance, you need to give. So there's that beautiful concept again that I often talk about. You need to be able to give out, but we need to able also with a very strong heart say, I want something back from my life. So that's another way of listening that keeps us in balance and keeps us healthy, keeps us, really happy. So that way of listening is very, very important. Are we listening to ourselves? So I have just finishing off with a beautiful a concept. A friend of mine, she lives in America, in the United States, and I think I may have told you about this before, but she works for an Ayurvedic company. So she's worked actually out for herself that because she works on the phone, she talks to people and then gives people advice. But she said the only way she can really listen to people is listening with her hand on her heart, like that. And I often do that with students or people who come out. I take them out into the woods or into nature, and we sit and we listen with the hand on our hearts. And then when we do that, try listening without the hands on the heart, and then try to put your hand on your heart and listen again. And then you may find that every leaf that rustles may tell you a different story. From listening from the heart, lots of insights that are very important will come to us. So this is what I wanted to just share this morning. I hope this makes some sense to you. And so just to summarize, listening to other people with an open heart, so that we can become part of somebody else's world, so important. Number 2, being able to listen to what life has to say to us, and then use that knowledge and transform or do whatever we need to do to perfect our life, to make it even better than it is right now. And of course, listening to compliments is important. And number 3, listening to ourselves. What is it that we need? What is it that we need to do? Really, really important. So think about that today, and so will I. And listen with your heart today. And again, I always say it, live your life really well today. And I'll see you in a few days' time. Bless you all. Thank you.